Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Grab your coffee, maybe a seltzer, lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink. If you're from the 80s, where's that from? So, maybe a snack. I got cookies, the pecan shortbreads. Are they not the bomb.com? So anyway, all right. So we've got some emails to go through. Okay, this subscriber, she emailed me and she's like, you're not going to believe this. She went to Walgreens through the drive-in pharmacy to pick up her prescriptions, right? And there is a sign on the window. And this is what it says. Pharmacist not on duty. You can't pick up your prescriptions. And it says you can't pick them up. They can't be sold per state regulations. Well, wait a minute. If they're already filled, why can't I pick them up? So what if he's not there? If he filled them, I should be able to pick them up. I don't know. What say you? Okay, so a subscriber got a hold of me. And he works at a government facility, okay? And he said that there are these really large metal boxes outside of many of the buildings where he works. And they're really old and they show years of neglect. And he said the other day there were two men working on one of these boxes. And inside the box, he saw a very large diesel engine. And so he asked the guys, he's like, so what is this? What are you guys doing? And he said to me, he's like, I have clearance, so it's actually acceptable to question anyone doing anything that is out of the normal in secured areas. So he's obviously higher ranking officer, whatever the case may be. So he's allowed to, if he's got clearance. So like if he's like Sean, he's an officer, he's got clearance, government clearance, he can question anyone that's doing anything that's out of the ordinary, right? So he goes on to say, they told me that they are fixing the building's backup generator. Apparently, all these buildings have backup generators in the event of a power loss. And he said, so I told them I've been working here for years and have never seen it run, even for preventive maintenance. And they said, well, we're here to get it running again. He said, we've lost power in these buildings before and they've sent us home because there was no power in years past. The question I left with was, why now and why the urgency? I don't know. That's a really good question. So I'm going to have to bring this to Sean's attention and ask him if he has seen any kind of hinkiness going on where he's at, because, that's just... why the urgency? After all these years, you guys have never had to run those generators, or they've never put in any effort to fix the generators, run any diesel through them or any oil through them, and now all of a sudden? So, on to this. I got these screenshots. I'm going to put them in. And the first one says it's data, and it says, since I took office, families are carrying less debt. Their average savings are up. A recent survey from the Federal Reserve found that more Americans feel financially comfort than any time since the survey began in 2013. How many people did you survey? Because I didn't get any survey in the mail. You're lying, man. You're lying. You're talking out your arse. Then this one. Breaking news. Potato is cutting federal school lunch funding to Florida. Okay, so if you're here in Florida like me, listen up. Funding to Florida schools because they're not being compliant with their radical transgender policies. So because we don't want boys going into the girls' bathrooms or their locker rooms, they're cutting funding to our schools. So I'm sure DeSantis is really going to love that. Yeah. So here is an email and some links that are going to be left in the description box below for you guys from my favorite gal pal in the UK. All right. And she said, I have an update concerning one of the articles that was sent to me the other day. And the article was about the British Royal Navy going back into the Black Sea to escort Ukrainian wheat exports. She said, well, as of today, reports have been coming out that Putin has said he will allow Ukrainian wheat exports according to Reuters, and they can go via Belarus. She said, I thought I would give you this update as I don't want you to be reading out wrong info in your videos. Well, thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate you. She said, however, saying the exports can leave and actually allowing them to leave the country are two completely different things. So we will see what happens with this over the next coming days. Yeah. You know, this is, it's absurd. It really is. It's absurd. So then she goes on to say, I also have something else for you. Let me tell you now, this one is really bonkers. I have never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. The whole world is now officially batshit crazy as far as I'm concerned. Please, someone get me off this crazy planet. I think we all want a ticket out of here. She said, do you remember years ago the Tamagotchi craze? Yeah. Oh, yes, I do remember that. Hang on. Sorry, I had to let the dogs out. Yeah, I remember the Tamagotchi craze. All the kids had it. They were annoying as all hell. She said, well, something similar is now going to start. Tamagotchi children. What? Shush. Are you serious? The UK newspaper, The Telegraph, has the headline, Tamagotchi children who don't exist could solve population problem. Come on. The UK newspaper, The Guardian, has the headline, Tamagotchi kids. Could the future of parenthood be having virtual children in the metaverse? And the Daily Mail newspaper has Rise of the Tamagotchi kids. What is, what's next? You have all this weird... And then, remember the movie from, what is it, like the 60s or the 70s, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? What is this? Is it going to be like Attack of the Tamagotchi kids? Really? When something haywire goes wrong with their computer chips? Flip out of here. Virtual kids will be commonplace in 50 years, AI experts predict. There are plenty of reports all over the place about this. Well, you know what? In 50 years, I ain't going to be on this planet. God's sakes, man. She said, no, but just no. I have not wasted my time reading any of this garbage. I'm really sorry, but I just can't take this seriously. And also, I can't stop laughing at this nonsense. I first saw it in a video. I saw it on YouTube. I was nearly on the floor. I laughed so much with all that's going on in this world. And then this news, oh boy, just no hope for this world now. No, yeah, you're right. There's not. Because, what is it? Okay, remember the movie with Haley Joel Osment? It was called AI. Remember that? And he was brought into the house by this couple, and the kid was laughing, and he ate something, drank something like that, and his eyes started to droop down. Do you remember that? Oh, God, that was a long time ago. Whatever. That's weird. Who the heck would want that? Seriously. Come on. Whack jobs. Anyway. on to this. Oh, I gotta let the dogs in. Hang on. All right, so on to this. Okay, so people treating joint issues with artery Ajo King joint supplements. I know I didn't say that right, so the link will be in the description box below. Stormy, don't do that. Should be aware that the product might contain hidden drugs that prompted Walmart to recall all available lots. The hidden drug in question is diclofenac. That's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, NSAID, that doesn't appear on the product label. Wow. Okay, so if you are taking this, I don't know, get a hold of Walmart or whatever, okay? But that link will be in the description box below. That's scary, man. Jeez, I can't imagine. No kidding. So, this was brought to my attention, okay? Another fire, I know, but just listen, okay? A Wright, and that's WRIGHT, county egg producer, is evaluating the damage left behind from a Saturday night fire. Augason Farms said that they lost hundreds of thousands of chickens. It happened in Howard Lake, Minnesota, okay? And this is just terrible. Oh, sorry, tens of thousands of chickens. Still, way too many. Way too many. Yeah, it's awful. Absolutely awful. Oh my God. What are you doing, Bug? What are you doing? So, there is a recall on Skittles. I know. Starburst and Life Summer Saver gummies. Recalled after consumers reported thin metal strands in products. That link will be in the description box below. Well, you know what I always say. Take it with a grain of salt. Do with it what you will. But as always, safety first. So, on to this. Gas hike. 15 cents overnight, Rockville, Maryland. Okay, now, before I go, I want to talk about this, okay? And you know that I will always leave the link in the description box below for you guys, okay? But I'm going to do a rundown really quick of this article that I found, okay? Now, when the USA and NATO countries engaged in economic warfare against the big R by deplatforming Russian banks from the SWIFT, and that's SWIFT system in March, it set off a chain reaction of world events that could lead to global famine. Now, this is something that we have talked about on this channel many times, you know, famine, 7-year famine, things like that, okay? And food scarcity panics, okay? Now, fertilizer and the natural gas used to manufacture fertilizer are now in short supply around the world, okay? And you know that Russia is the biggest producer of fertilizer and the components that go into fertilizer, okay? So many prominent food producers, such as India, have turned to export bans, okay? It's called food protectionism, to secure their own domestic supplies, worsening global food scarcity. And rising fuel costs have only added to these problems, resulting in far higher cost of farm inputs across the world. But now, America's domestic food production is collapsing as well. And seemingly for the same reasons: sky-high fertilizer cost, fertilizer scarcity, insanely elevated diesel fuel prices, supply chain problems, okay, affecting agricultural equipment, are all contributing to alarming trends across America. More and more farmers are simply not planting any crops, okay, but also take into consideration the drought on the west coast of America, okay. So There's no economic reason to do so. Rising fertilizer prices make the crops a money loser from day one. All right. Even if a farmer invests in the fertilizer, the ability to harvest and transport the resulting crops out of the fields is increasingly questionable. And worsening the situation, drought conditions are so bad right now that even rice farmers in California, for example, are being told by the water control authorities that there will only be allowed 0.4 acre feet of water per acre. I mean, look at what's happening at Lake Mead right now. Okay, that's just an example of the water situation on the West Coast. So you can't grow rice, okay, in less than 5 inches of water for the entire season. And these water experts are saying, sorry, we're only going to allow you 0.4 acre of water per acre. Well, that's not enough, sweetheart, sorry. So there's not going to be any rice crops in California this year. So they're not planting most of the rice now. Okay, only 70,000 acres are being planted out of the 450,000 acres that could be used. Okay, that's worsening the shortage. And California has decided to divert the water into the Pacific Ocean for environmental reasons, rather than let the rice farmers use the water to grow food. So India is also reportedly moving to halt its own rice imports. It's unleashing a devastating food scarcity scenario, all right, with worldwide implications. India accounts for 40% of the global rice trade. All across the world, crop yields are collapsing. Food supplies are dwindling. Okay. And according to the India Times, Hungary has banned wheat exports. Nations like Argentina, Bulgaria, Turkey are working toward outright bans of crop exports in order to meet their domestic needs, because they're not going to let their people starve just to feed other countries. So, you know, this is all, it's all deliberate, driven by destructive USA, NATO policies that strive for famine. They strive for collapse. Nearly all these problems with food scarcity, food inflation, are driven entirely by malicious policy decisions stemming from the arrogant USA and oblivious NATO nation leaders who have lost all ability to recognize economic principles, who actually want mass starvation. They want depopulation. And together, the USA and NATO nations deplatformed Russia from trading in crops, fertilizer, and natural gas, setting off a chain reaction of scarcity and unprecedented price increases for farm inputs, and setting into motion a global starvation scenario that will worsen for years to come. So that's why I have said before, 7-year famine. Well, it's damn near close to what is happening. And even if Russia or Putin were suddenly replatformed back into the SWIFT system, like now, the damage to the food supply for this year, for 2022, 2023, it's done. Damage is done. There's no going back. So mass starvation will burn through the world's developing nations for the next 2 years. And even in first world nations like us, right? Working class citizens will find themselves spending higher and higher portions of their incomes on basic food supplies. And this will, of course, lead to food riots. And it's all by design. All of it. The idea is to cause mass chaos and martial law in America before the midterm elections. In order to achieve that, the corrupt, illegitimate potato regime had to whip up this invasion, unleash economic protectionism across the globe, shut down fertilizer shipments to the USA, drastically raise fuel prices by shutting down pipelines. Because if you notice, that was the first thing he did when he got into office. Shut it down. Keystone, done. Shut down. And engineer a food scarcity emergency by making sure the USDA keeps paying farmers to destroy their crops and destroy tractors in exchange for payouts, of course. And then all these recalls. Baby formula recall. Oh. But where'd all that baby formula go to? The border. So, you know. I'm out of here, guys. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe. You stay positive. You keep prepping. And as always, fearless. Ciao.